Good day to you, good people of internet. This is your host Arash from the Trinity Report. I'm at the United Nations in New York. That's where I've been during the past week, covering the United Nations General Assembly. It's the 76th General Assembly in New York for Iran International. Today I'm going to wrap up the events for you on United Nations. The Iranian delegation had a very busy week during UNGA 21. They had so many meetings. Hossein Amir Abdullahian, the Iranian foreign minister, said he's had more than 50 meetings. I believe that. It was very busy. I've been following their group, and it is very difficult to believe that had it been that the United States didn't want the Iranian delegation to have all these meetings, how they would have been able to proceed, because 2 years ago when Javad Zarif was here, the Trump administration boxed him in Manhattan. He couldn't really move. He couldn't really go anywhere. That was not the case for Amir Abdullahian. He had so many meetings. He was able to leave basically the premises, pretty much traveling freely in New York, met with Europeans several times, met with a bunch of neighboring countries' ambassadors. And his message was that we will come back to the negotiation whenever we see fit. Right now, Amir Abdullahian, he was emphasizing that Iran would come back to the negotiating table soon. But what he said was that soon in Persian culture and Western culture is different, has different connotations. Soon in Western culture means as soon as possible. In Persian culture means whenever it's necessary. So right now, the Raisi administration has very little incentive to go back to the negotiation table. JCPOA is already dead. Iran has passed many of its enrichment caps, the limitations. There's no way to go back. Or at least, even if Iran agrees to go back on some of these limitations, nuclear limitations that would be, the know-how would still be there. Iran still is capable of deciphering the nuclear code, if you will. And there's no going back. Once you learn that knowledge, there's no way to unlearn it. And that is what unnerving the Biden administration, which is trying very hard. They did have also, the Americans have had a lot of meetings with many countries, especially Iran neighboring countries and European allies, in order to form a diplomatic unity between the United States and its allies, in order to send a united message to Tehran. And it seems that the Biden administration so far has been able to get the support of some of its Arab allies, definitely Israel. Today, Naftali Bennett spoke at the UN. His speech was solely focused on Iran, but it's not clear if Europeans are still on board with more sanctions against the Islamic Republic, more comprehensive pressure on Iran. That's not very desirable for Europeans, who've always been seeking to renew their fruitful economic contracts with the Islamic Republic of Iran. So we will be monitoring for the next few weeks to see where these diplomatic negotiations would lead to. Eventually, the United States has to either put more pressure on Iran in order to convince them to come back to the negotiating table, or accept the Islamic Republic's terms and start negotiating from the new. We'll be here from DC and New York. Again, this is Arash, your host from the Trinity Report. Please subscribe to my channel and help me spread the word about Iran and Afghanistan. From New York, with love. Goodbye, guys.